Cool. Let's start. So first of all, thanks for having me here. Really excited. Like 15 minutes is a bit tough to fit everything in, but I will try to do my best and try to give you the maximum that I can. So we'll talk about architecting scalable architectures of the GraphQL API. Initially, I thought about the name of the talk to be like architecting scalable web application, but it's not only applied to web; it applied to basically everything. So let's talk about that. My name is Vladimir Novick, as Martin mentioned. This is my fancy logo, which is basically just a copy paste from VS Code into SketchUp, and that's how it turns to be. I'm developer advocate at Hasura. I'm also a GD, author, consultant. I do lots of stuff in web, mobile, VR, AR, and IoT fields. Some people say that I probably should add AI and blockchain to be on top of buzzwords, but I'm still not there. I'm still learning blockchain and AI. My Twitter handle on the left, let's put it full screen or something, because the left is not seen. Wait. F12 on the Mac is not working. So yeah.
Going great.
That's fine. I think we'll manage it because I still need these tabs for live coding, so we'll manage it like that. Anyways.
I think you can just press the browser.
No, that's fine because I still need the tabs over there. So, the question is, what is GraphQL? So please raise your hand who tried GraphQL, doing stuff with GraphQL. Cool. So you, like most of you, know what GraphQL is. So I will be pretty fast on the GraphQL. And before going into GraphQL, I want to talk a little bit about RESTful APIs. So the idea is to have a URL for every resource. Sounds fun, sounds like working, not in the real world. Like description of resource, basically coupled to implementation. You have problems with overfetching, with underfetching. You have lots of ideas. You have versioning problems. And obviously you have problems when your backend team don't want to create a new API route and you as a front end really want that. So this is also a problem. And chaining requests to the server can be really painful. As an example, I want to show you the Star Wars API. We've seen Star Wars API ever? Okay, so this is just API to get data from Star Wars movies. So the idea is basically we have regular REST API, we query people, the ID of person, and we get a bunch of data. So if I need specific type of data, I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or even more requests to get the data that I need. And I need to basically consolidate everything on the client to make it work. And it's not that good, to be honest. So what basically GraphQL is, it's a query language for API. And let's face it, it's a bit of magic. So in the GraphQL API looks pretty much like that. Who haven't seen GraphQL API, we basically query our endpoint. We ask for specific data, and we get the same shape of this data, which is pretty cool, because in this example, it's nothing complicated. We're just getting a title of all films. But what if we have something more complicated, such as this? So we basically want to get planets, and for each planet from Star Wars universe, we want to get rotation period, amount of residents. For every resident, we want to know what species it is, which vehicles he used, and in which films, and which what directors of these films, what are the directors of these films. So we're talking about like 8 requests to the server for just a single planet. And obviously it's not performant, it's not good, but in GraphQL we're basically doing one request and we're getting everything back. And we don't have additional data that we don't need. We have the exactly same shape of data and the exact data that we actually need on the client. So sometimes people ask, okay, fine, but I have like the REST API and it's already working. I want to I don't want to rewrite everything. I want to start with writing GraphQL, but I still want to support my REST API. So then you basically the steps that you need to work through is to analyze API structure, define your schema, and implement resolvers. What does it mean? Analyze API structure, I probably don't need to describe. You can understand that you need to go through all type of requests that you have and analyze what is the shape of data. So GraphQL is talking about types. So you need to define types on your server and how they connect and resolve to each other. So when defining types, we will have some kind of schema that the client will be able to query to get the data. So to do that, we basically need to write our own server. But I want to show you a different solution. So I told you at the beginning, I work for Hasura as developer advocate, and Hasura basically provides you with a free and open source engine that generates this GraphQL API for you. So it works on top of existing Postgres database or a new Postgres database, or extension of Postgres database such as TimescaleDB, for example, and it basically generates all these types that you you need to write yourselves. With Hasura, you don't need to write anything. You just create data, connect the database, and you will get everything created for you. So the features are basically Hasura can be deployed to any cloud. It can run locally because it works in Docker. It's compatible with all authentication solutions. You can do your custom webhooks, authentication webhooks. You can connect it to IAM, to Cognito, or to whatever solution you want. It can run on top of new existing Postgres databases, as I already mentioned. And it has lots and lots of additional features, like how to generate an API. And there's a list of features that I won't just go through them. I will just show you how it works, because it will be way better than just reading from the list, right? So how we basically get started. We go to hasura.io, we click on Get Started, we deploy to Heroku, and let's basically see what's going on. So if I go to Hasura, click on that, it's like for a quick start if you want to play around with it, but obviously if you want to deploy it to any cloud of your choice, you run it in Docker container. So you can either use Docker Run, or you can use Docker Compose if you want both Postgres and the engine itself. So I will give it a name, and I will deploy it up. It will take, I think, less than a minute to deploy everything. And we will see. And that's it. It's ready. So what happened? I created Postgres add-on on Heroku, and I added in an engine. So this is how the engine looks like, and it has 4 tabs. It has graphical tab, which is basically an in-browser ID where I'm able to go through all of my types, all of my queries or mutations, subscription. We'll see in a bit how it works, and basically query my endpoints and stuff like that. The problem is I don't have anything because I just deployed it. My database is empty, right? So I have this data tab, which is pretty much similar to pgadmin, and I can start creating tables. So let's create one. I'll create table posts, I will add an ID, and I will define the type of ID is unique, and I will use generate random UID function, helper function to generate it. So now I will add subject of type text and without default value, and I will add some content with type text without default value. And I want my post to be connected to a user. So I will say that I will have user ID, and it will be connected in the future to users table. So let's see, I will add ID as a primary key, create, have these posts here. Now, if I go to graphical, go to docs, I already have query mutation subscription that automatically generated for me by Hasura engine. So if I go to query, I can query my posts, I can add my posts or update my posts or delete my posts by using those mutations. Which is like really important thing, it gives me subscriptions by default. So I can subscribe to changes I can have updates through WebSockets to my client, which is pretty nice. Now, let's do something like that. So I want to query my posts, and my posts will get my post subject. So if I query that, obviously I don't have anything because my post is empty. Now, let's basically add the post. We will say that my post object will have content something, subject something, and it will return ID of the post that's created. And this won't work. Why this won't work? Because I have automatic validation for nullable or not nullable fields. Because the tables that I defined, they define automatically as not nullable. My user ID field is not nullable. So what should I do? I probably should create my users table, right? I will go to data. I will create my users table now. I will add ID, unique ID, generate random UID, and my user will have first name and last name. And that's it for now. Primary key will be ID. So far so good, but let's try to query our post now. So in GraphQL, I can query my post, and my post has user ID. So I would expect that I'll have subject content and will be able to access my user and my user data, because that's what I showed you, right? We don't need to do like all of these requests. We want to get all the data. So if I will get
could you move the screen, like the tab browser, the browser tab to the right side, because we're like standing in the middle, we can't see what you're typing. Go ahead.
Better? This code I should close.
Can you also make it bigger though?
Maybe color it purple.
Okay.
Why not
Thank
green?
you.
Better?
Much better.
So,
You can also
or I can just like sit like that. It's better. Yeah. Okay. So I want. No, that's fine. So I want to get like subject content, and I would expect to get user, but I don't have I don't have what I expected, right? I want to get like user, first name, last name, all this kind of stuff. So what's wrong here? So the problem is, if I go to data and posts, I can set my relationships between posts and users. For that, I basically go to my user ID and define it as a foreign key to users by ID, save that, and it suggests me to add a relationship. I can add my relationship here, call it user, and now if I try to get my user, I will be able to get first name and last name. So this is a cool thing that you can do, right? Everything auto-generated. So another really cool feature that you can have. So obviously you're asking yourself, fine, you give me API on top of my database. What about business logic? What about like validations and like lots of this stuff? How do I do that? Haven't showed any place where I write code. So let's say if you have, for example, your own server, your own GraphQL server. And I will show you example here. For example, I have Star Wars API. I have Star Wars API GraphQL server. So what I can do with Hasura, if I will find where I opened that, I can go to remote schemas, add a new schema, add a URL, and now if I go here, I can basically query all fields from my GraphQL server, which means I can stitch schemas. I can have my own GraphQL server with my own custom logic. I can have a schema from there, and I can have schema on top of my database. But that's not only it. We talked about serverless, right? So where serverless fit in here? Hasura provides you with event system, which basically gives you an ability to trigger an event based on database manipulation. So if you insert something into database, a trigger can be connected to serverless function to execute custom logic and then return the result back to client. If the result is, for example, mutation, the engine will execute this mutation on the database. So basically, we're talking about async serverless. So let's do it right now. So we want to trigger insert on database whenever we have on insert we want to trigger our custom webhook. So I have a Lambda function here, which is basically just an echo Lambda function. It doesn't do a thing. It just prints things to the console. So I will get URL of this Lambda function if I find it somewhere. I will get this API endpoint. I'll go to my URL here and create a trigger on my posts on my post table. So now I want to create a mutation, call it insert posts. My insert post will get objects, and my objects will get content, something, subject, something. Now the cool part, because I'm connected to user, I can insert both post and both user. So what I can do here, okay, and I don't remember how I do that. So I go to mutation, I go to insert posts, post input, user, input, data. So what I can do right now, I can provide it with first name, wait, yeah, user, data, first name as last name, and I will return something. Now if I trigger that, I will have my post created. If I go to data, post, it will have one post and it will have one user. If I go to my events, post, I will have my Lambda function executed on insert into database, and it will show me that I basically inserted my subject, my content, user ID, and everything. So that's how async serverless basically work. So in a nutshell, we've seen it in action. There are a bunch of data here in slides for you to check everything that I said. I just like write it down here. And yeah, yeah, everything is like I told you 15 minutes is like very fast. I tried. And you have like 3 examples with Angular, with React, and with Vue, how you basically can work with GraphQL subscriptions, mutations, queries, with all of these popular front-end frameworks and Hasura backend. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed.
Yeah.